Sup dudes, is Dusklp here. Cyberpunk has been out for a few days now and I just wanted to give you some of my thoughts. Before we get into it, a like on the video is super appreciated and be sure to subscribe for more informative and gameplay content. The story can be confusing without at least some knowledge of the lore, as very little of it is ever explained during gameplay. For example, the Black Wall. This is a huge part of the world and it is not explained that well during the gameplay. A lot of events and other things are referenced without explanation, so I would highly advise watching some lore videos, like the ones over at the Neon Arcade, linked in the card by the way, as it brings so much more impact and enjoyment to the story, knowing what these things are. Despite that, I find it really good. Your choices matter, even though it is much more what you do and not what you say. That is not to say that the dialogue choices are not impactful. They are just not as nearly as impactful as I would like. Depending on your choices and what side quests you do, you can find yourself at, I believe, 6 different endings, maybe more. The side quests are some of the best I've ever seen in any game. They all have their own storylines, cutscenes and characters. If you do not play the side quests, you are seriously missing out. Not only on some of the best content, but most endings. Now, RPG mechanics are a huge thing for me, as a huge fan of the genre. That being said, Cyberpunk is a shallow RPG. The skill trees are plentiful and there are stats galore, but the skills are not complex at all. Very few add new mechanics and most are just percentage boosts to stats. However, it is still possible to form builds, so at least we can do that. As for weapons, DPS is the only thing that matters, or single hit damage, depending on your preference. What other attributes on the weapon or mods you use are not nearly as important, and iconic weapons look nice, but they do not feel unique. None of them do something that no other gun can do. Most of the time you will find yourself not using them, as they are expensive to upgrade because the crafting is near unusable at this point, but hopefully that will get fixed in future patches. And random rolls just do more DPS, so why wouldn't you use them? I would love to see character perks with negatives and positives, as well as iconic weapons that really stand out. I hope we will see more of that in the future. Combat in Cyberpunk is very fun. You have so much options on how to approach a situation. You have stealth, full-on Rambo, melee, hacking, or a mix of them all, and each is very fun and feels great. Not the best, but great. I could go over each of these combat styles, but just know that each of them are valid and feels good. I am quite enjoying being full-on stealth using quick hacks, as you can do some insane stuff. I was most worried about melee going into this game, as first-person melee is not something you can easily get right. And going into this game, I was worried it would feel clunky and just not good. But surprisingly, it is not that bad. I've had fun using a katana and decapitating my foes in slow motion. Which kinda brings me to the point of cyberware. There is a bunch of options when it comes to cyberware to play with in combat. For example, you can switch out your OS for slow-mo that you can activate. Just keep in mind that you're not able to use quick hacks with these mods, but it is kind of nice to have that option there for the people that do not like using quick hacks, for example. My favourite cyberware so far has been the mantis blades. Just keep in mind you have to build for melee for them to do good damage. I have found that a stealth melee build with the double damage poison perk and the poison mantis blade damage mod, as well as every single melee damage perk you can get, is awesome. Overall, this game has great combat. Just great. I think I've said that like 5 times already in this little paragraph. And I could talk more and more about it, but let's move on. Now, this is by far the best thing in the game. The environment you find yourself in is amazing. Night City feels alive. Each district has its own feel and atmosphere. Not only do they look different, but people in them act different. Not to mention the Badlands outside the city. I personally love this area of rundown desert. There is even a dynamic weather system there that will force you to find shelter as you explore. And it really feels like the complete contrast to the city. The Badlands is a lawless land abandoned by most, whereas the city is tightly packed and full of corpo and police law, although there is plenty of crime. Both areas also have a ton of things to do and a ton of things to discover. Side missions, open world events, and random loot is all found all over the map. I know I will be spending countless hours just exploring in this game and seeing what I can find. Now I think that is all the main non-spoiler thoughts that I have. Feel free to post your thoughts in the comments, just keep them spoiler free, and we all know about the bugs and other issues people are having, but plenty of discussion is already going on about that. Just look at all the other videos that people are posting. I purposely chose not to talk about them for that reason. With that said, that is all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.